Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Friends, headed into 2022, we have to keep our eyes on the state of Pennsylvania. The Senate race in the state of Pennsylvania is going to be a massive decider. I personally believe Pennsylvania is going to be one of the toughest states to win, probably along with the state of Georgia, and if you pay attention to the Democrats on Twitter, like I keep telling you guys, they're already doing victory laps. They think the whole thing is done and sealed. Republican momentum is done, it's shifted, Democrats are winning, and now with Joe Biden's massive $300+ billion voter buyout, they're thinking that they're in a great position to maintain the Senate and maybe even maintain the House. But I'm here to continue saying what I've been saying, not so fast. And especially with all the doom and gloom that I'm seeing with Republicans and right-wing election analysis people on Twitter, people need to calm down. There's still over 2 months left, and we have a couple key indicators that continue to show the Democrats are not as strong as they think they are. But friends, before we get into today's segment of what's the left offended by this time, this video is actually brought to you guys by a sponsor, so let's play that clip. Folks, it's 2022. What are you doing without a VPN? Let me put it this way. When you think about Facebook, what do you think? It's a massive social media company? When you think about Tesla, what do you think? It's a car company, right? Wrong. They're data collection companies. What they do is track all of your personal information and your data and sell it to the highest bidder. And the only way to protect your anonymity, your privacy, is with a virtual private network, a VPN. And this video is sponsored by Atlas VPN, the best product on the market. For those of you guys who are wondering what a VPN is, well, it's essentially a tunneling software that allows you to connect to the internet through a proxy or a middle node. You may be living in Michigan, but you could surf the net through a proxy server in either a different state or a different country entirely. This allows you to protect your identity and your information, and also the cherry on top, allows you to unlock your favorite content from all over the world. No more geo restrictions when you're watching Netflix. You can change your location and watch whatever you want if it's region locked. And talk about the best of the best part is that right now, Atlas VPN is running a huge discount. You can get a 3-year subscription for just $1.83 a month, plus 3 months free with a 30-day money-back guarantee. In these crazy inflationary times, that's a good deal. So if you want to protect your data, protect your information, and of course protect your privacy, then click the link down below in the description and sign up for Atlas VPN. Folks, $1.83 a month. You're not going to find a better deal for a VPN anywhere else. A huge thank you to Atlas VPN. Now back to the video. Alright friends, so this is absolutely stunning. You guys remember a couple days ago we were talking about the Fetterman versus Oz race. The most recent Trafalgar Group poll showed that John Fetterman's lead had shrunk significantly to the extent where it was almost within the margin of error, Mehmet Oz only trailing by 4 points. Well, that was one poll. We now have an Emerson poll, which has always been very favorable to the left, mirroring that exact lead. John Fetterman leading at 48 to 44, showing a significant portion of the gap has been filled. You guys can also see an F&M poll showing a +13 Fetterman lead. Give me a break, we're going to completely ignore that. That is a ridiculous number. But the most recent Trafalgar and Emerson poll are showing John Fetterman leading only by 4 points. That's a significant decrease from a couple months ago. But what's absolutely astonishing about this most recent Emerson poll is when you delve in to some of the other data. They're showing the Senate race John Fetterman leading by 4. And for governor, Josh Shapiro, the Democrat candidate, leading by 3 over Doug Mastriano. But then when you go to presidential polling for a hypothetical matchup of 2024 Joe Biden versus Donald Trump is leading by 5, and if you go to the generic congressional ballot data, Republicans are leading by 1. How does that make sense? How is it that John Fetterman, an extremely far-left radical socialist Democrat in a moderate state like Pennsylvania, is leading by 4 points, but then Donald Trump, who's perceived as the evil orange man, and Trumpian style and Trump-endorsed candidates are supposedly not so popular in a state like Pennsylvania, he happens to be leading by 5 points. I mean, there's a little bit of a disconnect here. It doesn't seem to make sense. People are telling you that they plan to vote for the generic Republican at 1% higher than the Democrat. They're telling you that they support Donald Trump 5% or 5 points ahead of Joe Biden, but then down ballot they plan on voting for radical Democrats across the board? It makes no sense. And especially when it comes to John Fetterman, I mean, this guy is just a weak candidate. He's sloppy, his policies are extreme, he's unable to justify his policies, and most recently he suffered a terrible stroke, which has left him with neurological damage. That's a fact. I'm not trying to attack him or anything. I don't want to seem cruel, but that is just the fact of the matter. And now even CNN is talking about it.
Legitimate questions do remain about Fetterman's health.
From Erie to Pittsburgh.
Steel workers!
Pennsylvania's Democratic candidate for Senate, John Fetterman, back on the campaign trail more than 3 months after suffering a stroke.
If I'm your next senator to Washington, D.C., guess what? You're still going to have a senator that's going to be living across the street from your steel plant.
Rallying members of the United Steelworkers Tuesday, Fetterman was on message, but often halting in his speech and occasionally dropped words mid-sentence.
Being anti-union is anti-American. What is wrong with demanding for an easy, safe kind of their income, a path to a safe place for them to win, to work?
Fetterman declined to answer questions from CNN and other reporters at the event.
You mean to tell me that John Fetterman is a strong candidate and is going to carry the state of Pennsylvania? I just don't buy it. The guy is struggling, he's unhealthy, he's perceived as lazy, having never worked in his life, his policies are radical, and he's supposedly going to get elected in a state that's currently supporting Donald Trump for president. I cannot believe that, I will not believe that, it is unbelievable, literally. And honestly, I think the only reason that this guy is ahead is because Dr. Oz just doesn't know how to campaign. He released this clip not too long ago.
Thought I'd do some grocery shopping. I'm at Wegner's, and my wife wants some vegetables for crudité, right? So here's a broccoli. That's $2. Not a ton of broccoli there. Here's some asparagus. That's $4. Yep. And carrots. That's $4 more. That's $10 of vegetables there. And then we need some guacamole. That's $4 more. And she loves salsa. Yeah, there's salsa there. $6. Must be a shortage of salsa. Guys, that's $20 for crudité, and this doesn't include the tequila. I mean, that's outrageous. And we got Joe Biden to thank for this.
The guy just seems cringe and out of touch, doesn't know how to really compact a political message. So I get that he's underperforming, but moving forward and the gains that he's currently seeing, and if he could kind of align his message a little bit better, I really wouldn't be surprised if we see this John Fetterman lead continue to shrink. Oh, and don't forget the fact that if Donald Trump is outperforming both of these candidates, well, he's likely to give them a significant boost as he's now headed to the state of Pennsylvania to campaign for them. The real campaign season has really just started as primaries end. That's why I think it's completely ridiculous to be seeing so many right-wing people doom and gloom because of a couple voter turnout issues in a couple different states and districts. The big race that everyone's talking about is New York's 19th congressional district. MSNBC covered it over here.
Whether the political climate in this country has changed, specifically in the wake of the Supreme Court ruling that overturned Roe versus Wade. There had been before tonight 2 special elections, one in Minnesota and one in Nebraska, in very Republican districts where Democrats had done better than Joe Biden had done in 2020. The Democrats hadn't won either of those districts, but they had done better than Biden in 2020. Tonight, though, we got a test in a different kind of district, a truly competitive political district here. Donald Trump carried New York's 19th district in 2016. Joe Biden carried it. He flipped it by 2 points in 2020. This district kind of mirroring the country. If you went further back, Obama carried this district back in 2012.
Which, look, the Republican loss in District 19 is clearly not a good thing, but I think people are exaggerating and they're not seeing the bigger picture. First of all, the results of the race were pretty much 1-to-1 with the 2020 election results between Donald Trump and Biden, so the district hasn't exactly shifted, it's just remained consistent. But there's a couple factors here that people aren't paying attention to. New York and some of these districts in New York are starting to become more and more left-wing. I mean, New York's not a state that Donald Trump plans on flipping. In fact, a lot of people who are more conservative-minded over the last 3 years have left New York. So I mean, by basic logic and deduction, if conservatives are leaving the state of New York and they're moving to places like Florida and other surrounding states, well then it's logical to assume that New York is becoming more left-wing, as other places become more right-wing. So I don't think looking at New York gives us a great indication of where the country is headed politically and how districts are shifting. Everything is different in 2020. Demographics are shifting significantly. People are leaving states. And the most important factor that people are not paying attention to is the Latino vote. Where Donald Trump's going to flip districts where Republicans are going to gain seats are in Latino districts. I mean, just in that Pennsylvania poll, Realignment Politics makes an interesting point. Donald Trump's 5.5% lead in Pennsylvania over Joe Biden in the Emerson poll is simply stunning. He swung the Hispanic vote 54% right and the black vote 14%. He's gained 18% in urban areas and 8% in suburbs. His coalition is robust and diverse. Amazing. Absolutely. White, college-educated voters in big population Democrat strongholds are not going to shift. Those are the vote blue no matter who people. The Democrats have been working for that vote for decades. You know, this is where the state of New York is headed.
I know we're saving the speeches for a little later, but today we really proved that socialism wins. We are not going anywhere, and we will not stop until we see a socialist slate across this city.
Celebrating socialism and electing more AOC-style candidates. I think the 2022 election is going to shock people because Republicans, I think, are going to overperform on actual election day in a lot of these swing states, and I think a lot of what were perceived as Democrat districts are going to flip, a lot of Latino districts. I think we're going to be looking at a little bit of a different electoral map moving forward because of how demographics are shifting and because of how people are moving. That's my prediction. Of course, it could be incorrect. And honestly, even if that's the baseline fact, if that's the potential, there's also the potential of the Republican Party and Republican candidates just not being able to capitalize on this clear electoral advantage moving forward. I mean, Republicans are notoriously bad at messaging. Democrats are doing a decent job. They're buying votes like they usually do. Republicans are still talking about inflation and nothing but inflation. Of course, inflation's a bad thing, but you know what? Joe Biden just scored a win on inflation. Even though he didn't do anything, he still scored a win. Republicans are still slow to move on important issues like crime, the border, education. I mean, education is probably the biggest thing that Republicans should be talking about, but they don't, and they're not. For Pete's sakes, basically across the state of Florida, Republicans or conservatives sweeped school board elections. That is a winning issue for Republicans, but the messaging is just not there, and there's a possibility that they fail to take advantage of the current political situation. And I guess we'll just have to see what happens over the next 2.5 months. A lot can change before election day, and I think that's a pretty easy prediction to make, that a lot is going to change before election day. We'll just have to see where it goes, and we'll have to see who can capitalize. But right now, I'm not buying into the doom and gloom. I'm seeing a whole lot of potential for Republicans to still maintain their leads and to gain leads here, and I'm going to continue to classify the current Democrat sentiment as hopium. But of course, we'll just have to see how the cookie crumbles. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, then make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel if you're up for it. I'm going to get back to work. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.